Once upon a time, two friends joined forces to bring you the best in horror entertainment. Brian from the north, Tim from the south, each bringing their own unique perspective to the horror community. Movie reviews, Blu-ray releases, beer pairings, games, and more. Welcome to your new home for horror. This is Civil Gore.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to episode 190 of the Civil Gore podcast. I'm your host, Tim.
And this is Brian, and we're in the final countdown to episode 200. So we'll start promoting that, I think, soon, though, because we want to have some participation from the listeners out there. So we'll send some things out there on social media stuff, places if you want to leave us a message or if you have a favorite moment of the show you want to talk about. Well, we're going to try and make this a pretty big extravaganza coming up. So, and just in contrast, this episode is nothing like that one. We'll probably be really short.
Yeah, Brian's kind of recording on vacation here, and so he's got an awkward setup. And the movie we're going to do was fairly not heavy on plot. Great movie, but not really one that you could talk in intricate about the storyline. So should be a fairly quick episode.
Yeah, I mean, just really talk about the cool qualities of it. Really not much to go into on it. I mean, it's one of those, too. It's like we can go tell it to you, but, you'll watch it anyway, and it's really, you'll say, oh, yeah, they kind of told me everything. So, yeah, it's really not much to go into except all a lot of positives on it, though, I will say. I didn't really have many negatives on it, but we'll get to that soon enough.
All right, well, let's get right into it, because we do have an interesting first chop. All right, Brian, so I got to watch three things for the show today. Not today, but over the past week between recording. And the first one up was the Blackwell Ghost from 2017. This is available on Prime. One I've been wanting to see for a while. This is a documentary, and I put documentary in air quotes because there are numerous... It's never said that it's fake. There are numerous things in here that lead me to believe that it's fake, but
one of those. But
it is so well done. It's about this man that he's actually a zombie movie. Speaking of the feature this week, he's actually a zombie movie director, and he ends up deciding to get out of the. He's not having much luck in the film business, so he decides to make this documentary and start investigating the paranormal, and he comes across this man that posts this really simple video of this house he says is haunted that he's lived in for 40 years. And it's a real simple video of this lamp turning on in the middle of the night. And then you kind of see this apparition shape go by. Really spooky. So he contacts this guy and asks if he can come and just film, and talk about the house or whatever, which he does. And a little bit later, the whole thing's very believable. I mean, this guy and everything about this looks like a legitimate ghost documentary. And the man ends up going overseas and asks the filmmaker if he wants to come, him and his wife come and stay at the house for a few nights, because he says, if you do, I guarantee you're going to see activity. That's how haunted this house is. So he's like, sure, he jumps at the chance. So he goes with his wife and takes cameras and sets cameras up everywhere and films this whole adventure with him staying in this haunted house. And I will have to say, the biggest mistake I think a lot of found footage films and paranormal activity type films have is they kind of get to a point and they just cross the line to where I don't believe it anymore. Like, they do a lot of subtle stuff at first and I'm going, man, this is really believable. And then they do something stupid like set a Ouija board on fire or something. And then I'm like, it just takes me out of the film. But he really does a great job of doing a lot of subtle things that slowly build up and keeps it very, very believable all the way up until the end. The filmmaker, and I'm sorry I didn't grab his name on here, but I'll if you look it up, you'll just look up the Blackwell Ghost on Prime. He's a very likable guy, really, really likable, and I think that's one of the strong points of the movie is he's so likable, and you kind of want to believe him because of that. But man, this one I'm assuming it's not real, so I'm just going to go ahead and put that out there. I don't believe it's real. But even from that perspective, I was super impressed with it because of how realistic he made it look. So I think you guys would really enjoy this one. There are actually like 5 of these now that he's made. The first one is on Prime. The rest of them you have to rent. So I haven't looked. I don't know. I can't vouch for what the rest of them are like. But this first one was really good. I understand why it got a lot of buzz because it's a really good example of how to do a great fake documentary correctly.
Now, does the Blackwell Ghost have anything to do with the Black Coat's daughter? Are they the friends or something? Or
it could be the Black Coat's mother. I don't know. She's the
I'd
spooky
like
lady on the poster.
I'd like a crossover.
Yeah, it's worth checking out. It's a good time. I got into some ghost stuff. I was watching that Ed Gein documentary on Discovery Plus, where they do a kind of a paranormal investigation at Ed Gein's farm, and so I was kind of in a ghost hunting mood when I ran across that one. I did watch another one called The Castle Project, which was an actual straight ghost documentary about a castle they were renovating, and that one just was not. I didn't even put it on the rundown because it wasn't that great for me. So I wasn't.
So it was like This Old House meets Pamela.
Yeah, that one. It was just nothing happened. It was kind of lame. But Blackwell Ghost on Prime, definitely check that one out. The next one I watched, Brian, is a screener that Shudder sent us. It's coming out.
I know. I want to see this.
Oh my gosh, this one's coming out tomorrow as we're recording, June 3rd. And it's called Caveat. And this is an Irish horror film. The premise of this one is so cool. So this guy gets hired to be a caretaker to a mentally ill woman who lives in this house on this remote island. And he's getting paid like $200 or whatever the equivalent of Irish money is, $200 a day to just basically be there with this woman. He doesn't really have to do anything. So of course he kind of jumps at the opportunity. But once he gets...
Why can I never get those jobs?
Yeah.
I swear. I'm always looking for those kind of jobs. You just get paid to do nothing.
But once he gets there, there's a caveat. And that is he has to wear this harness, which is attached to a long chain and padlocked. And the chain will only allow him to stay within the confines of the house. So he can't leave the house, and he can only go all the way up to certain rooms. Like the chain length restricts him from going into certain rooms. So
is there like real quick though? Is there like a garage door opener that Dolly Parton and Jane Fonda can press to have him get strung up in the air?
No. So
I have this Mr. Hart image in my head.
No, so it was such a cool premise, and as the guy stays in this house, it's super creepy house. The woman there has these weird periods where she'll just sit on the floor and cover her face with her hands, and then she'll have these other episodes, and these mysteries kind of unfurl as you're watching the movie, and there are some really super creepy scenes, some great jump scares. This writer-director, Damian McCarthy, is one to look out for. This is his first feature film, and if this is what we can expect, I think we're going to see some really cool things out of him. This was a neat movie. I really liked a lot of the imagery, and a lot of the scenes were really spooky and terrifying. So definitely check out Caveat on Shudder. That's a high recommend for me.
Nice. Yeah, I definitely want to check this one out. I'm glad your next one we finally got to, because I watched this a while ago, but we had to wait because of the embargo date. And this one is like you figure would be right up our alley here, but it's a lot different than you would expect.
Yeah, we watched the Amusement Park. This is the lost film from George A. Romero. This one is from 1973. So let me tell you about the story of this film, which is very interesting. So there's a group called the Lutheran Society, and they commissioned George Romero to direct this film about create this film about to highlight ageism and elderly abuse and the way the elderly are treated in America. So they commission this film, he creates this thing, and they find it so disturbing that they decide never to release it to the public. And
you could see why, actually, when you watch this.
And the film gets basically lost. It's thought lost forever until it's rediscovered in 2018 and remastered. And let me tell you, this film is insane. Now, George Romero is known for his really biting social commentary, but this is, I told somebody, this has all the subtlety of getting a chainsaw into your face. That's how subtle the metaphors are in this movie. There is no subtlety here. He just viciously goes after prejudice against the elderly in this movie to an extreme. The basic Go ahead.
And it's disturbing. I was going to say it's at a disturbing level of this of what the way he decides to show it too.
Yeah, so the basic, there's not much plot. The basic premise is there's this elderly man. He is wandering around an amusement park. There's all these weird characters, in the amusement park. He's basically walking past these little vignettes and these little scenes. Like, for instance, there's one where he gets on the bumper cars and two of the bumper cars get into an accident.
That would crack me up. I was like, I really wish this was a real theme park. How great would that be?
And it turns into this whole ageism thing where the cop's telling the guy he can't believe his eyes because he's old, and old people can't drive, and then it's just scene after scene of this stuff. But there's something about it, Brian. I don't know about you, but this movie stuck in my mind. I don't know what about it, if it was like the grittiness of the 70s or the surrealism or the weirdness of it, but it was like it's like disturbing. Like it was kind of depressing too.
It was. And I think you're right. It's like all of those things, but I will say this too. And we've joked about this with our theme park friends too, about and this kind of like, so it had a more of a personal note to it in a weird way. Like, how we always discuss those how we'll have those weird theme park dreams where we're at a park that we know really well, but it's completely different and just something haunting about it. That's kind of what I felt like with this, where it's like, you see them at a theme park, but like really weird things are at this theme park. Like, people are like, there's one guy like riding the train with like a set of golf clubs, and then people are arriving and leaving with suitcase, and there's like some weird like kind of like a pawn shop attraction in there where people are showing up and they're getting ripped off for their like sales, and it's all making a commentary on this. Like, it's all examples of how the elder, and they flat out tell you in the beginning in like a little like monologue by the main guy, and he kind of tells you what you're gonna get, but I don't think you quite expect it this way, and it's like, and like in the just everything, like in the even the way there's not like any kind of dialogue or it's something like actually thing, like when he's on the roller coaster and you could just see his expression the whole time and how like haunted he, and how terrified he is of a roller coaster kind of going on, or that thing where they're like, he's trying to like, all he's doing is trying to like be friendly to the kids and like, I guess, share his like his like snacks with them or something, and then he gets like some guy like butts in and thinks he's a pervert just because he's trying to be kind, because you always hear creepy old men or a creepy and so it's like they take like every stereotype and every kind of way to like stories you've heard of how the elderly is taken advantage of, and it really puts it right in your face in this. So it's like, and being a I think it probably hit us more because of the venue they used of an amusement park, because it's a place where you and I have had just all with our friends and and families, and have like just carefree experiences, and then to take this and make it into this like generally like a horrible scene after scene of what happens to these poor elderly people. It's hard, but like the one that struck me the most, and not to give a spoiler, but there's just one where he gets he goes into an attraction that looks like it's some kind of attraction. It turns out it's some weird like assisted living place.
Yeah,
and I'm like, how it has this appealing outside but horrible inside. And I've seen my grandparents have been in assisted living, and and some of them were pretty run down on one of them, and and I've seen the best sides of them and I've seen the worst sides of them. So it's like, you get and it's just it's a very haunting look all the time, and by contrast of an amusement park, which is known for its fun and its frivolity and its and to do such a commentary on this, it's like it really is good. It's something that I think everyone just needs to watch, though.
Yeah, the one thing that struck me too with it being in the amusement park is the movie is constantly reminding you that you're heading into this future. like you're going to be old
Yeah.
one day. And with the amusement park, it really God, it really gave me a sinking feeling. Like, you and I, Brian, are not far from being old,
I
you know? So it's like, you're kind of reminded that your amusement park days will one day be over, and you're not going to be physically able to do it. And that was just a slap in the face. And I just, it really, after finishing watching it, man, I kind of was like a little bit depressed there for a little bit thinking about it.
It is depressing, and you feel a lot of pity for the main character because he seems like such a pleasant guy, just trying to enjoy his, the simple things, and he can't because he's being, because of his age, things are happening either through a physical limitation or societal limitations, and it's a sad thing. And in fact, there is literally one. It's funny what you just said. There's literally one scene that kind of shows that where they go into the fortune teller,
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, show us our future. And she goes, there's only one ingredient. You have to see it all. You have to see it all the way through. And the guy's like, yeah. But I don't think he realizes what, at that point it's like, and that's like almost towards the end of the movie where they do that. But it really has been happening the whole time. You're getting this vision of that. But what an interesting title. This perhaps may be one of the coolest titles that Shudder has ever acquired, I think, just because of its rarity and its backstory and its plot, really.
Well, I mean, Shudder is full of this stuff if you really dig down. Like, they just posted Eve's Bayou, which we covered a while back.
Really?
Yeah,
That's
they just
awesome.
posted that on Shudder.
Oh, that's great, because there's some people I wanted to recommend that to, and I know they have Shudder, so
yeah.
that's great.
So I would say, God, for the price Shudder is, it's worth it alone just for stuff like this that they pop up every now and again. You never know what you're going to get. And then, my God, the caveat, one of the best horror films I've seen this year. And, you're getting that right on the tail of that. So, we always talk about Shudder. You guys know already. And you guys listening probably already have Shudder because we have brainwashed you into it over multiple episodes.
Yeah.
But I'll say it one more time. This is worth the cost of the month alone just to watch weird oddities like the amusement park. And the other thing I wanted to point out, Brian, is the main character in the amusement park actually has it better than most of the other elderly in the park. So when you see stuff happen to him, you're going, my God, if it can happen to him, what's it like for the other poor people that are not in as good a shape as he is? So, you guys have to just watch this one. It'll dig into your brain, man. It's one of those, and that's what movies are supposed to make you think, and, but that one got to me. That was weird.
Yeah, and thank God it's under an hour. I think it's like 54 minutes.
Yeah, it's very short. Yeah,
something like that. But it does it. So it really, I don't think I could have taken much more, in all honesty. And that's not a knock on it. It's just it's heavy.
Yeah, it's a heavy film. But if you want to see cynicism literally unleashed, and man, I just can't. I'd love to see the people that commission this. I'd love to see their faces screening this and going, "Oh my God, what did we buy?"
Well, and because most people, they're going to say, "Oh, I guarantee you," everyone says, "Oh, George Romero amusement park, nice. It's going to be zombies taking over their amusement park."
It's a filmmaker who, my God, you can see his anger on the screen, like pure anger on the screen. It's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. Y'all gotta check that one out. All right, well, definitely. We told you this is gonna be kind of on the shorter side episode, but let's get right into our main feature. Our main feature is a movie called Alone. Now, I know we've covered another movie called Alone recently. There was a lot of movies called Alone in the past few years.
This is the Sutherland cut.
Yes. This one is from last year, 2020, and directed by Johnny Martin, and it stars Tyler Posey as Aidan.
Which I have to say was, we're going to be honest with you, that was a selling point, because we'll want to always just, throughout the movie, we're going to just say, Tyler Posey.
Yeah, sorry. We just had to. So, Tyler Posey is Aidan. Summer Spiro is Eva, which I've seen her in something. What have I seen her in, Brian?
I don't know. I didn't. I meant to look it up. I know. But I have seen her and stuff. You're right. She's definitely got that. Otherwise, she just has that face. But
yeah,
I will look it up as we move on here, and I will.
Oh, she was in West. I found it. Westworld. She was in Westworld.
Oh, Westworld.
Yeah, that's where I know her from. Okay. Donald Sutherland, who I've seen both the front and back of, as Edward. Robert Richard as Brandon. John Posey as Aidan's dad. His actual dad, by the way.
His actual dad, which nice stunt casting there, and a double Posey.
Maya Karen as the medical analyst. Josie Martin as Vanessa, or should I say Josie Martin as Vanessa.
I know. That was another surprise bonus as I was doing this setup here. I was like, oh my god, I wonder if Tim's gonna see what pick up what I'm dropping right there.
Jenny Martin as Kat and Brooke Swallow as Jessica. When an outbreak hits, Aidan barricades himself inside his apartment and starts rationing food. His complex is overrun by infected screamers, and with the world falling apart into chaos, he is left completely alone, fighting for his life. So, as you might expect, this is a zombie movie, but this is the fast zombie, or rage zombie, as they're called, type, not the undead.
But I will say there is a little bit of a wrinkle on these type of zombies, which is one of the things I liked about it, which we'll get to a little bit later, I think, when we discuss it. I'll tell you with one of the I'll mention it later, but
yeah. Now, I will have to say, Brian, when you offered this movie as our feature of the week, I was sold on the Tyler Posey and the Donald Sutherland, and I really didn't know anything about the movie. So when I started it and I realized it was going to be a zombie film, I was like, oh, man, I really don't want to watch another zombie movie. Dang it. And I was like not feeling it. At least for the first 20 minutes, I was like, God, I'm really not wanting to do this movie right now. And as it goes along, it slowly started to win me over until the very end. I really, really liked it. But going in, I was not feeling this movie whatsoever. But once again, I keep getting surprised by these zombie movies that still manage to bring something new to the table that somehow surprises me. And in this case, I think the title of the film actually kind of shows what the wrinkle was. That is a zombie movie where you have a single person surviving, because so many zombie movies are reliant on the bands of survivors grouping together and making their way out, but you rarely see what would happen if you were completely alone and isolated and having to fend for yourself, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah, no, that was a wrinkle, but the wrinkle I was referring to was with the zombies themselves, where they actually, the newscast says it, because in the beginning, you're getting some like subtext to the movie through little bits of TV that he can get as it cuts in and out through the emergency broadcast system, and I think he mentions it later too in the film, that these zombies are kind of aware of what they're doing, because there's a whole scientific little like segment on there that they interview someone where they say like, oh, this part of the brain like is just the is the part that just wants to eat because it's that, and the other part is aware of what it's doing. And some of the zombies are literally like begging to be killed. They're like, kill me or something, or they're saying the last thing that they remember as it was going on, and they're just like based off the kind of thing. So I thought that was a cool little wrinkle. That there was another zombie film that kind of did that, but what I liked is that it was actually a point in it turned into a plot point at one spot, and it came into a discussion in it, which I won't go in because it's part of the sequence of scenes that I don't want to spoil. But I thought that was kind of cool about it too, is that the zombies themselves were very like interesting, and like the way they turned. I mean, they called them screamers in this. That was a nickname. Each zombie film will want to, they're trying to stay away, if you notice, from actually calling them a zombie.
Yeah.
They just have a nickname. But in this one, it's called the screamers, and like the perfect example is the neighbor. It's like he slowly turns in front of and it's coming, and then he still kind of survives a little after, and he's still kind of functional as a like person a little bit. So it really kind of picks up on that element that they kind of know what they're going through, and they're suffering through it. Like most of the time in zombie films, the majority, they're like, I mean, I know Army of the Dead did their thing with the where they had like a whole zombie like
they were like civilized.
Yeah, and they had and they could impregnate. I mean, we'll discuss that movie for another time, but yeah, no, but and I like the fact that there was there was almost like this other thing going on there where you had you almost had that moral obligation to kind of kill them in some spots, so it was kind of a new little feel. And especially when you're for the majority of the film where the Tyler Posey character's Aidan is alone, hence the perfect title. he's got to deal with that dilemma himself, and he's got his almost like internal monologue going, and just after living through, and there's even a line they say it's a global pandemic, and I'm like, just living through what we did, and where he's like rationing food, not knowing when he'll be able to go out in the store. I mean, I know it was not till that level what we went through, but at times it felt that way, you had your family in there. I had Julie, but some people didn't have anybody, and so I can imagine. There's a very big commentary, and I'm sure what a lot of people who were single people in their apartment that really, you told you not to go see anybody, you couldn't go visit your friends, you couldn't visit your family. So what do you do? I know. I mean, we were blessed to not to have to go through that element of it. I mean, even though I missed my family and friends, and so did Julie, but we had each other, so I could see I don't know what Tyler Posey was in before, but I have to say he did an amazing job at really pulling that off. You really felt his pain and suffering, that he was by himself, that he couldn't get to his family, that he knew was out there, and he wasn't sure if they were alive or dead.
And he really had to carry this movie, being the main, the alone guy. He was really carrying this movie on his shoulders for much of the movie until Eva comes in. The character of Eva comes in, and I wanted to talk about your feelings between like traditional slow zombies and your fast or rage type zombies. I like different aspects of each one. Like the traditionalist in me, I always prefer like the original zombies, like, because that's what I grew up reading in EC horror comics. I like the idea of them like walking around, even like skeletons almost, and they're like limbs falling off and they're still alive. I think that's scary. Whereas the rage type zombies are obviously more realistic. Like you feel like that could maybe possibly happen because they're not literally undead. And
they're alive. They're just like infected with something. Yeah.
But I also feel like with the rage zombies, they're more dangerous in the short term, whereas the other ones seem more dangerous in the long term. Like the rage zombies seem more dangerous in the short term because they're like in this case, they're kind of thinking, they're smart, they're fast, they're aggressive, and they're alive. But I also feel like, spoiler alert if you've never seen 28 Days Later, but I feel like because they're alive, at some point something's going to break them down and kill them. They're either going to starve to death, or they're going to dehydrate to death, or something's going to happen. If they can't feed, it's like any kind of virus. If it can't find a host, it's just going to die. So I would feel like even if you did nothing, if you just barricaded yourself in your house for a few months, if you had the food to do so, eventually like it would subside, and you would have a point where a lot of people would die, but at some point the virus would kind of die itself out because they would.
And he overtly like said that at one point. Remember that he flat out said, he goes, "I think if I wait this out, there's going to either be a cure or they're going to die off, and we can go and we can leave." Whereas he had a plan, and he like shared your philosophy on that, like your strategy, and I think that's probably what you'd have to do.
Whereas the other side, the old zombies, you conceivably now, I mean, The Walking Dead, I feel is like, I mean, they go years, and it's like, people are still walking around. You'd feel at some point they would decompose, but decomposing. But I guess if they're supernatural because they're undead, it'd almost be like. It doesn't matter. Like you almost have to like rip them to shreds, or kill the brain to stop them. Because even if there's like half a zombie, it's still going to be like trying to crawl around and stuff. So that to me is more scary and more like long-term threat.
Well, in this one, they kind of implied too that you didn't have to get bit. You could just get the blood, because they said it's transferred through blood. And remember, there was a scene where he hit one and the blood splattered on his face and like the cheek, and he like immediately freaked out and like wiped it off because they had to, it was kind of like the whole thing where it's like it just was in the blood because it was more of an infection based zombie outbreak. Not like the Dead Rising. And I think that's so. And at that level is kind of scary too, because like, okay, you want to go start like smacking these these things and smashing them, but like now, hey, wait, you got to watch out. You don't want blood to splatter up into your one of your orifices there, and then you're dead for no reason, It's like, and what I thought was cool about this is like, for the way I thought it was, the way it started, the way it was setting up, I'm like, I mean, it starts off in a bang, like you're right into this movie within 5 minutes, and and I thought, and I love that fact. But here's the thing: what was great is like, but the way it started to go after that, after you realized what was happening, I was like, oh, is this gonna be one of these things where it's literally gonna be this guy reflecting in flashbacks through his life, and he's just gonna be sitting there and it's like one of these like one man show type of deals. But but then obviously as the movie progresses, you find that that's not the case. But when they have some action sequences that are damn good for it's like I did not expect some of the cool things, like where he's running through the hall and he's like jumping over one zombie, sliding under another. It's like a video game, you have hit B, slide, hit Y, jump. That's what it was like, and it was like, and it was just so cool, and so and there were surprises in it that I didn't expect, and it really like when I was like watching it, I like you said, like I was when I saw that I'm like, all right, I picked a zombie movie, okay, but it's got Donald Sutherland, so maybe a Sutherland zombie might be fun, who knows, but I did not expect the type of movie we got that had like some really cool twists. It had a great action sequence. It had a lot of heart. It had a whole other kind of like all these other elements that you don't find. And like you said, it's like, how many times are we going to say we're sick of zombie films and they have this one come out? Now, I will say this one was really, really good. But apparently there's a 2020 Korean version of this also, which I'm going to track down because we know those Korean horror films are amazing.
Yeah.
Train to Busan was so amazing. So I'd love to see what they do with this.
Yeah, that's a good thought.
Not to knock Johnny Martin, because Johnny Martin did a fantastic job with this movie.
Yeah.
This is actually one of my this is up there in one of my top zombie films, and I hate to just call it a zombie film because it's really not. It's different. There's a lot. You can't just say it's another zombie film. It's got enough elements to it that's kind of like, that might be the overall premise, but there's a lot more going on in there. I think it's about human connection and the lack of, and there's definitely some commentary in there of how a society would functions. I mean, we've seen some of it, in real life this last year. So it's not like, we've seen some of the best and some of the worst of what society can do. So, and I think this movie had a great back and forth with that, and I was really surprised how good it was.
Yeah, I thought it was really, really good. And like I said, for me going into the movie, not wanting to even watch it because it was a zombie movie, and then to be won over by the end, it's got to be pretty good. And I will have to say, Donald Sutherland, we have to talk about him. We will try to stop. We'll try to not talk about his ass. But he showcases why he's not in this movie very long, just a few minutes. Yeah. But he showcases what a legendary actor he is, because he is so good. When he's on the screen, he is absolutely riveting. He has those big blue eyes, and you're just like hanging on to every word. And there's a monologue.
Wait, you finally looked at him, Tim. You finally looked at it. He said, "Look at my eyes, Tim. Look at my eyes, Tim. Not my ass." And now you finally did it.
Yes.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but it was too good to pass up.
But yeah, he gives a monologue in this film I was just riveted to the screen. Like, I almost rewound it and watched it again. That's how good it was. So when he comes in, I was so delighted that he gave such a good performance. Not that he wouldn't, he's a professional. It doesn't matter if he's on the screen for 2 seconds, he's going to give a good performance. But he just blew me away in this, how utterly riveting he was on the screen. And his whole story arc is really, really cool too. So I think you guys are definitely going to like this one. And it fits into that plot that I was saying, like some of those elements about how the moral dilemmas in certain cases. Yeah, and he actually is the part of his his monologue reflects on it, but part of his whole scene is almost there to do that. His sequence is there for that. Who would have thought? Seriously, though, think about it. 2 of the best films out of 2020 were both with the same title alone. Yeah, I know. Well, I guess the whole theme of the pandemic and being alone and social connection and all that stuff. I mean, that's really in the forefront of everybody's mind. So you're going to see some good art come out of that.
I give this like the highest recommendation. This one is so good. I think, and it's on Prime, so most people have Prime. Definitely something I would say to watch. It's really good. Don't make the assumption that Tim and I had at first of it being just another post-apocalyptic zombie type of film, because it's way more than that.
Yeah, really, really good. So, Brian, what did you come up with the beer pairing for Alone? This is, I just read this. Oh my God, this is brilliant.
Yeah, could I have not found a better pairing for that? I love this title. It was perfect. So, this one is called Indoor Survival Hazy IPA. And if you watch the movie, you'll know how perfect that one is. But it's from a brewery called Everybody's Brewing in White Salmon, Washington. Never heard of White Salmon, Washington. But I got to ask Seth if he knows where that is. He's just outside of Seattle, so maybe he knows where this is. Anyway, the ABV is 6.5%. It's got 3 hops in it. El Dorado, Motueka, and Mosaic, which one of my favorites. It doesn't have Citra in there, but that's okay. Mosaic will do. And here's the description. It says, a staple of the modern survival kit. This beer highlights the delicate interplay between hops and malt in a lighter-bodied hazy beer. Just make sure you mute your screen before cracking this one during your next Zoom meeting.
That's perfect. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds good. All right, so getting to our triple threat from last week, we were asking you to solve the puzzle of an actor or actress, and the answer was Judy Aronson. Of course, from Friday the 13th, the final chapter. So clue number 1, my first film role was to be the last in the franchise. So she starred as Samantha in Friday the 13th, the final chapter, which we all know was not the final chapter.
Not even close.
Now this one you had to lean on Brian's wordplay. Clue number 2, my second theatrical film role was definitely weird. Weird was the clue there. She played Hilly in the 1985 classic Weird Science.
Yes.
And clue number 3, in my most known horror role, I inadvertently almost caused the main antagonist to quit due to my death scene. So the death of her character in Friday the 13th, the final chapter, was filmed on a cold December night. It was so cold out in the middle of the lake that Judy started crying. Ted White, the stuntman who was playing killer Jason Voorhees, became angry with director Joseph Zito for being so insensitive to her discomfort and threatened to quit if Judy was not given a break from being out in the cold water. She got hypothermia while filming that scene. Wow.
Yeah, that's a very famous story that, like, on almost every Friday doc, like, that's in there, and they discuss it, and it's in the book, and it just tours the horror community there. That story. Yeah, that's why that was the clue. I kind of thought that might have been the one that might have really got people. So,
all right. So this week we're looking for another actor or actress. Clue number 1, my first movie role was in a very popular horror franchise.
Nice simple clue there.
Yep.
Right?
Clue number 2, I am the first in my family to receive an Oscar nomination and also the first to win one. And clue number 3, I was married to 2 actors who happen to have roles as 2 Marvel Comics anti-heroes. That's your big clue right there.
This is a tricky one, though. I think that this is tricky. I mean, all the clues, I think, could really, if you look, it can head you in the right direction. But I think this one's like a decent level of trickiness, though.
Yeah, that's a good one. All right, so we have another listener question from David McHugh, Horror Mailman on Twitter, and I love this one because we could do a whole podcast on this one, which is bad.
Yeah.
This one, I had to narrow it. Brian, I actually had to make a self-imposed rule on this one, which I'll tell you about in a second. So the question is, what movie quotes do you use all the time? So I'm always quoting movies. I'm always doing that, even when they have no relevance to what's actually going on. So
I do exactly the same.
So for this question, I was actually trying to narrow it down to quotes I use in specific situations, so that's the ones I use commonly because a situation comes up and then I say the movie quote. So I kind of limited myself that way, but I'm sure we will go off on tangents and everything. So the first one up I had, Brian, was from The Sandlot, which we've talked about a lot recently because I just recently watched it. The kids just recently watched it. I had never seen it before. And it's the famous line, "You're killing me, Smalls." And the reason I said this one is, and I even talked about it on the show, I think, is my buddy Scott used to say this all the time. "You're killing me, Smalls. You're killing me." And so I picked it up from him. And I knew what movie it was from, but I had never seen the movie and actually seen it in the context of the movie. So I was really excited to see it on the screen finally. But I still use "You're killing me, Smalls" all the time.
Yeah, so I think, I mean, Yeah, mine. I will preface mine too with Tim. I mean, Tim and I do the quote. I mean, to each other all the time, but I do it to everybody. My friend Mark and I, we were constantly doing lines. One, and of course, Tim and I, most of the ones, we could probably do about 30 different ones from Planes, Trains, and Automobiles alone. So that's the one I'll start with, the first one, which I always use. I think I used it for Tim the other day, and I sometimes modify it, but one of my most common ones is always like, wow, we're saving money already. We're a pretty good team. and I say that all the time. To any time we get like I'm with someone that gets some kind of deal or a discount.
I used that one this weekend. We were in Costco.
See?
Yeah, we got a Costco membership because we wanted to get some specific things that we could only get at Costco. And Olivia said, you know what, just buckle down, let's get the membership because we got some big ticket items we're going to be buying. And while we're in here, we'll look for groceries and stuff. And we actually found a bunch of stuff that we really wanted. And so Olivia was like, oh man, we could get this whole thing of LaCroix for like $8. And I was like, see, we're saving money already. We're a pretty good team. So yeah, that was used this weekend.
And it's funny, just that little tag on that too is the thing you said when you said Costco. That's another one I always say when from Yes Man. He goes, I go to Costco. When Jim Carrey's boss says that, like I say that to Julie all the time. Like sometimes I don't even like explain it. I just say it in that voice. So
that's great. Yeah, the other one I got from Scott, I had to mention because he used to say it all the time, and so I had to start saying it, was Negative Ghost Rider, the pattern's full from Top Gun. So if you say something in that context, it would be like, hey Scott, did you get that woodworking project completed this weekend? Negative Ghost Rider, pattern's full. That would be his common response. So that was another one from Top Gun.
Yeah, I think another one I always say is, and this one, my friend Mark and I always say this all the time from UHF, where he go at the end. I think he goes like it's funny. We kind of like made it up ourselves, but like with the guy Mr. Bilchick, which was the uncle. But we'll go very good, Mr. Bilchick, and we'll just tag that on to things and like in the voice, and it's like one of those ones I like just have come into the lexicon. I mean, like literally, I'm probably going to forget a million of them, but I have my next one ready too. So I'll after my turn, though, I'll give you the other one.
Yeah, I'm gonna probably forget a ton, but the other one you've heard us say so many times on the show from Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and that's he's proud of his town. It's a damn rare thing these days. And I will say that anytime somebody expresses pride in something they've done, but then I will actually change the word. So, we see somebody that's like, he's showing us his car or something, and I'll be like, he's proud of his car. It's a damn rare thing these days.
Yeah, like this isn't the one I was gonna say, but again, it's like a kind of you're reminding me of. It's like a tag on for that is too from that movie. Whenever if we're ever on anything or on a road trip and it says interstate, I'm like, and someone will say like, I say no, let's do the other way. Like all you see on the interstate is interstate. So yeah.
Oh, speaking of that, I was looking up the clip of the people train don't run out of Wichita. Unless you're a hog or a cattle. Stubville. No, I was watching that clip, and the lady that played his wife in that scene commented on the YouTube video. And
really?
Yeah, she was talking about how much fun she had playing that scene, and that was the only major film she'd ever been in. And so I went out to her site just to see, and she actually raises chickens. I thought that was great. Oh my
God, really?
Yeah, I thought that was great. Yeah.
So she really might have
her first baby.
That train.
Her first baby really may have come out sideways.
It really may have come out sideways.
She didn't scream or nothing.
Yeah. David McHugh, you have no idea what you've done.
Oh my God.
I think the next one I'm gonna do is one of the ones. Another one. It's again me and my friend Mark do this one, but like it's spawned to where I do it to anybody now. But like I don't know if you remember in the Money Pit. When he goes, so how long this gonna take? And Philip Bosco comes back. He goes 2 weeks. He goes, and Tom Hanks like 2 weeks, 2 weeks. And then so I always do the one where he goes 2 weeks. Huh? You sound like a parakeet. 2 weeks. And so like I'm like anytime anyone says 2 weeks, we hit it with that line, of course, because that's a must.
Or 2 weeks if you're on Coaster Radio.
True. Yes. There is that one
another
too.
2 weeks quote. Yeah. The other one I used to say to Scott all the time because he worked for the government and I didn't. was that line from Ghostbusters where Dan Aykroyd says, "You've never worked in the private sector. They expect results." So every time Scott would say he was oh yeah, I'm taking off tomorrow, I would be like, "You've never worked in the private sector. They expect results." And I used to get him with that one all the time.
Oh my god! Yeah, so one of the ones too is from I don't know why this one I repeat all the time, but like sometimes I'll just say it like for fun, like in Splash when the guys I first saw her, remember, and he's like bocce balls, and I just yells at.
Oh my gosh! The next one I have up here is I use this one's hard to sneak in because usually the best time to sneak it in is when it's wildly inappropriate. This is the scene from Christmas Vacation where he goes, "The blessing."
Oh my god, I love that one. I didn't even think about that
when
one.
Aunt Grace is doesn't know what she's supposed to do, or I mean Aunt Bethany, and he's wanting her to say grace. And so anytime you could ask my brother, anytime something comes up where somebody mentions saying grace or saying the blessing, even if we can't say it out loud, we will probably mouth it to each other. The blessing.
Oh my god! Yeah, speaking, I have another one from that movie too. Is anytime I happen to encounter or someone tells me about someone named Margot, I always go, "I don't know Margot," because it's like you kind of it's just like there's so many like it's so funny.
That movie's so full of quotes.
Yeah, we could probably go on.
Oh, obviously, You Serious, Clark? That one all the time.
Yeah.
All the time, You Serious, Clark.
Yeah, and I don't know how many like different airplane quotes I'll use, and Airplane 2. I mean, it's like,
oh god, Ferris Bueller quotes all the time, and those are harder to fit into conversation. But like just Abe Froman, Sausage King of Chicago, or in what country do you think this is?
Do you do what I do sometimes? If someone gives like a weird job, you say the so and so King of Chicago. I've done that. Where yes. I just put whatever position you've said. I like if they're talking about how big it is. I'm like, well, they does something of Chicago. Or
the other one from Ferris Bueller is when he me and Olivia tend to use this one a lot. Is when Sloane comes and picks him up from school, when he comes to pick Sloane up from school. And he's dressed as her dad. And then she jumps in the car and kisses him. And Ed Rooney goes, "So that's how it is in their family." We'll use that like if somebody just does something weird, like, I don't know, you meet somebody and they do something weird. And then I'll just kind of turn to Olivia and go, "So that's how it is in their family."
Oh, and yeah, another one I have to say is, or my friend Mark will never forgive me. And we used to actually do not only the whole, not lines from this movie, but literally the entire scene from Back to School, like but the first opening sequence between Rodney Dangerfield and Adrian Barbeau with the with that whole one back and forth they do. He goes, "Please don't throw your clothes on the broyer chair," and he's like, "Well, why have all our furniture have names?" And then they just go back and Rodney comes back with these classic one-liners. And all the time, if I'm ever eating a sandwich, I'll always go like this. I'll put my pinky up and go, "Watch my sandwich, will you?" Just like there's like so many from that movie alone. Probably that might be one of that, like rivals Planes, Trains, and Automobiles with lines I say from it like that. Like, or that one line, the classic one where he goes, "Oh, your wife was just showing us her klimt." Remember, he goes, "Oh yeah, you too? She's been showing it to everyone." He goes, "Oh, she's very proud of it. Remember? Well, I'm proud of mine too, but I don't go waving it around at parties." And he goes, "Fascinating paintings." He's like, "Oh, the painting." So we'll like anytime someone says painting, we'll be like, "Oh, the painting." So it's like,
oh my gosh! I used one today where Olivia was talking about how she was trying to shoo all these people out of her office because they were interrupting her work, and I said, "Did you tell them, why don't you people go back to your shanties?" From Happy Gilmore. So I use Happy Gilmore quotes a lot.
Oh my god! Oh, I do summer rental ones too, where he goes like, when it like you go, "Oh, you got that one there." Remember the one where he was like with the darts and everything? So, yeah,
it's ridiculous. There's
a lot of or sometimes I'll just repeat that guy like, "Man, 5 Scully's catches of the day," like, or basically that whole Richard Crenna sequence. Go, "Oh, this is your table? Is this your wife?" Or that whole.
Oh, I got one. I got another good one. I use this one constantly. If somebody's in a hurry, from When Harry Met Sally, "What do you have? A hot date?" So I use that one. I use that one constantly. Olivia probably gets super tired of me using that one.
And then of course we would be remiss, Tim, to not mention the line we just literally say all the time out of the blue for no reason, and that's of course fruit please.
Yes.
Which means nothing.
Which is the king. The king.
Yeah, and that's not even in context ever. It's rarely ever in context, in fact. And
it's such a throwaway line, dude. It's not even a joke. It's not even a punchline. It's just the way he delivers it. I don't know. I don't understand. That's the most random movie quote. Like nobody would ever. And to find another person on this planet in Brian, I mean, it had to be fate that we both.
And my friend Mark too.
That's crazy.
That's the thing. There's 3 of us. There's 3 of us that say that line. That's
so
like unheard of. Like that probably was. I wouldn't even be shocked if that wasn't even in the script and it was just a total ad-libbed line. You know, it's like, but yet now it's become like this thing.
That whole scene like cracks me up. I don't know why. We don't need to involve the authorities in this, do we, Mr. Buxton?
Just the whole thing. Yeah.
The whole thing just cracks me up.
Oh my god! We still need to do that movie. That and Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I think we need to do commentaries on.
Spearmint?
Just so
it'll just be us laughing the
us
whole
quote
time.
It
would just be us laughing the entire
probably.
time. Yeah, I don't know.
But that'll be good for if people want a nice.
You know, we should do it, Brian. We'll just do it as a bonus. Like if you want to download it, you can. If you don't want to download it, like if we had Patreon, that would be a total Patreon thing. But
totally.
I will just throw it out there. Like anybody, I know, like this is not of interest to hardly anybody. But if you just want to hear us laughing through Pee-wee's Big Adventure or Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, I would totally be down for that.
Yeah, just play it and then move on with your life because you're probably not going to get much else out of it.
Yeah, Spaceballs. What's the matter, Colonel Sanders? Chicken. I use that all the time. When somebody's scared to do something.
Of course, anytime like with the like if it comes up, I'll just go Lone Star. So
I will use Ludicrous Speed Go. Young Frankenstein. I quote all the time.
Well, Mel Brooks ones, are just
anything Mel Brooks is just huge. And then Young Frankenstein's one we could probably get away with doing because it's horror adjacent. We could probably get away with doing that. I haven't
seen that in ages.
Oh man, we should totally do that one.
And I have it. It's in my set. I just haven't watched it in forever.
Save it. We may do that one closer to Halloween. It's just kind of a funny one-off.
Oh let's keep that in the rotation this year for something.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we could go on for hours on our favorite movie quotes, but we'll leave it at that, and we'll be back here next week. Of course, we're starting our countdown to episode 200, so we will start keeping an eye on social media. We'll start asking for submissions, like if you want to be on the show, or record an audio clip, or I don't know, however we want to do it. We may think of some other surprises to put in there.
Yeah, and we only have after this week. We have one more week, and then the summer slaycation will start too. So we got some good things lined up for that. So that'll be fun. And right at the end of the summer slaycation comes our 200th episode. So it's like we got a lot coming up right in a row. That'll be really fun.
Yeah, it's gonna be a great summer. Yeah, it'll be cool. All right, guys. We'll see you back here next week. Remember, if you do get trapped in your apartment during a zombie apocalypse, make sure you have plenty of bottled water on hand.
And make sure you are not neighbors with Donald Sutherland.